Now we're going to create the PNP. A PNP is generated from the plan output to structure the sequence of actions needed to complete the plan and the exceptions that might occur while running the simulation or robots. This simplifies the need to provide a complex domain and problem, since most scenarios are highly complex, such as changing environments, errors in execution, and evolving goals, which would all have to be accounted for initially to build a capable plan. So to generate the PNP, we will use the PDDL plan output file that we just created. And we're going to do this inside the Docker container that you created. And we're going to go into our playground, the name of the Docker we created, and we're going to go into plans. And in here, we're going to use this command to create the PNP. PNP gen linear. PNP gen linear. And then since we called it ER, out. So there you go. As you can see, the PNP ER is saved, and you can see it right here. It just created. And this will create the same, it will have always the first name the same as the file that you have your PDDL out, and it's gonna have an ending PNML. In order to visualize this generated PNP, we're gonna use JARP, so we can put jarp.sh, and the JARP opens right here. Let's make it bigger. So we will open the file that we want to visualize better, which in this case is the ERPNML. And to make it easier to read, we can move the nodes and transitions. For example, we can move this one right here, this node, higher. You can also move the text itself. The idea is that basically the robot plans a sequence of events and steps that the robot or the agent has to go through. In this case, you can see that the first step for the robot is to move from the main triage to the main corridor. It starts it and then it ends that step, and then it starts moving from the main corridor to the waiting room. It starts and it ends, and then it goes by through all those sequences to be able to complete the plan that you created. So in this sequence of steps that you can have your robot do in your plan that you created right here, you can also have certain exceptions, and these are added into the execution rules. The execution rules, ER for short, are a set of rules that are applied during the execution of a plan and which are not contemplated previously. Therefore, the use of ER simplifies the addition of special cases that otherwise would need to be encoded in the planning domain. An ER is a simple script that checks if a condition applies during execution, and if it does, a set of actions are executed. It is set up in the form of if, and then you add your condition, whatever you want to check, during an action that the robot is executing, and then you do whatever you want the robot to do afterwards, your recovery plan. An example of an ER is this one right here. If a person is here, so basically a person is in front of the robot, during the action move robot, then you do the following action: wait for person not here. So basically the robot will wait for the person to leave, basically to not be right in front of the robot, for it to basically restart the action. For a sequence of actions, on the other hand, you have to add each one with a semicolon in between each one. So in this case, if you can see here, so if the door is closed, basically the robot is trying to enter a room, the door is closed during accompany human. So when the robot is accompanying a person, you do the following two actions. So this is the first one, and then there's a semicolon to show that there's two actions. So this one and this one, and then it skips the action that it was doing previously. Basically, it was supposed to enter, let's say, room 1, and because the door is closed, then it needs to skip that action and instead perform these two actions. Basically moving to the next consulting room. Instead of the consulting room 1, it goes to consulting room 2. And these actions to be added must be consistent with the actions written in the plan. So if you go into your PNML file that you just created in the last section for creating a PNP, if you keep going down, you can look at, for example, the way this is written. You need to write it exactly as it is in your ER file. So basically, you need to create a new document, and we have to call it ER dot. It needs to always have the ending .er. So basically, we can use exactly the same ones that we gave as examples, and those would be the execution rules that you have to create. So in this case, we can open this new file and we're gonna save it. To create your new conditions, such as person here and door closed, you're gonna look into the file that you have available, the documentation for the PNP software, and you're gonna go to section 8.2 right here, and it's gonna explain how you can create a condition on your own. After we have done this, we're gonna generate an updated PNP, because now we have conditions and execution rules that the robot has to check for while executing the plan. So we're gonna do it in the same way. The only difference is that since we're here, we're in the same location as we were previously, and we're gonna put the same command, and we're gonna put the same plan, but in this case we are also gonna add the ER execution rule file that we just created, .er. There you go. So now I created this new PNP that has been updated here. You can always, of course, check for this file